The best way for us to practice staying centered on the road is to go drive on a road that's really clearly marked. So we're going to enter this road that has a limit line to the left and a limit line to the right, as well as a centering arrow and centering stamps. While I'm traveling, I'm keeping my steering wheel held lightly. I keep my thumbs level in the 9 and 3 position, and I just let the steering wheel do its work of driving straight down the road. This is the best case scenario with 2 clear limit lines and our centering stamps. Now we're continuing down a road where we lose our center divider, and I'm going to maintain my centered position between the parked cars on the right and up ahead in the distance, the double yellow line that centers me. I'm also going to pay attention to the stop sign. And when I'm positioned directly over the letter S and my passenger seat is directly over the letter P, then I know that I'm perfectly centered in my lane. The human hands have a tendency to try to follow our eyes. So as a new driver, it's really important that you disconnect your hands from your gaze. There will be times when you need to look up at the rearview mirror, but you want to be careful not to take your hands with you because that'll cause the steering wheel to turn. There will be times when you are gazing to the left to check your left side mirror, but be careful not to accidentally take the steering wheel with your eyes. Instead, keep your steering wheel steady and practice gazing with just the flicker of your eye or the slightest twist of your neck. And remember, you always want to come back to having your chin centered and facing forward so that it's easier for you to stay centered. And across the way, I see another road, 2-way traffic, without a solid line dividing, just the little spot at the opening of the road. So I enter in on my side. And to share space with this oncoming car, I'm going to slow down and I'm going to center between the parked cars and the passing car. The important thing about learning how to center your car is to understand that you're going to have to change that centering safely to the different road conditions that you come to. Here we have a nice wide road. I visually split the wide road in 2 using the double yellow line as my guide. And I stay centered on my side of the lane using the stamp STOP to guide me. I'm always glad when I stop perfectly at my limit line so that I can allow pedestrians to cross in front of my car. It's nice when people say thank you. We just picked up 3 thank yous just by being stopped in the correct position. As I make my turn, I recenter using those same strategies. I have my forward gaze to the left, which is the concrete curb. I understand that to the right of the car is the limit line of the bike lane. And my forward center gaze is what I'm going to use as I cross this intersection and continue going straight. Again, because the steering wheel is relaxed, I'm being really careful not to oversteer, which is a really just first level you want to get to as a new driver. Just relax into the steering wheel and let it do its work. And then I'm also just visually getting better and better at understanding the width of my car and how the width of my car centers with the way that the lanes are drawn. Now we're going to drive on a little bit of a curvy road because one of the things that we need to be able to do is to maintain our centered position even when we're not on a perfectly straight road. Sometimes, depending on the curve of the road, we might have to slightly turn the wheel to the left or to the right. always coming back to center. But we want to be really careful not to get caught in a bad loop of steering and steering and steering. Sometimes new drivers can be so nervous going down the road that they feel a little wobbly and they start sort of fighting with themselves. So if you find yourself doing too much wobbling, try to take a breath in, roll your shoulders back, relax your elbows, and just let your hands settle safely on the wheel, and that will help keep you steady. The important thing for us to remember is that our car matches the width of the lane. The double yellow line to the left is our guiding line for the front left of the car, and it should feel like your car seat is tracing along that double yellow line, and that keeps us centered in our driving lane, which keeps us away from the parking lane. And now we have a little detour, and we're going to center on this very narrow road. It is a two-way road, so if we meet an oncoming car, we'll curve over to the left. But in that case, we just center on the whole road. Sometimes you might have to go a little bit out of your lane. For example, if there's a wide vehicle parked on the right-hand side, or if there's a cyclist or a pedestrian that you want to give some extra room to. In that case, remember that you're going to check your side mirror and your blind spot before you gently go over to the left, taking up a little more space than you normally would in your lane. Remember, the width of the lane gives us room to wiggle with a little. And so if we have to go a little bit to the left, we just try to take up as much space as needed, but we try to avoid going over our limit lines because we don't want to get into the path of oncoming traffic. And now we're on a nice wide two-way road, and the only centering stripe we have is way up ahead. I curved out a little bit more to the left to give that car some room. They were loading up their passengers, but as I approach the intersection, I'll make sure that I'm centered within my lane, again using the limit lines on the left and the stop stamp on the ground to help me stay perfectly centered. So in these best case scenario streets where we have limit lines and stamps, I hope that you're getting the feeling that we can use those limit lines and stamps to help us understand the width of our car. On other roads without a limit line, we are going to use our sense of the width of our car and our understanding of what another passing car would need to stay on our right side of the lane. And on narrow roads, we're going to feel comfortable taking up space in the middle, understanding that if there was an oncoming car, we would slow down and we would negotiate the space so that we both could pass. But the important thing is that you feel like you know how to center your vehicle in a variety of road settings so that you can avoid the uncomfortable feeling of being too close either on the right or left side to other cars. That's something you really want to avoid. You want to give yourself space and especially make your passengers feel like you're aware of the size of your car and that you're not going to bump into anything. And driving down this road without a center stripe, I can use the stamps to help recenter me. I can use the double yellow line at the intersection to help remind me of my side of the road. And also visually, I can see how the lane on the left has their space and I have my space because I understand the width of their car and the width of my car. And I can visually imagine them passing each other safely. And for the new driver that's nervous that they're not going to fit it can be really helpful to remember that large vehicles, buses and trucks, share space on our road. So if you're driving an average-sized car, you're going to fit. And by staying centered and safe, you are going to become a better driver, and you can avoid that scary feeling of trying to pull over to the side to avoid a car and accidentally getting too close to a parked car. So your job in staying centered is to keep your focus, trusting the width of the road, and really understanding the width of your car. We'll finish with this super easy centering road. I hope you can find some good roads to practice on that are well marked, so you can just have an easy time of figuring out how to stay centered using the width of your car, smooth steering, limit lines, and stamps. Have a great rest of your day, and thanks for joining me today to learn how to drive smoothly and centered in your lane.